We're going to look at the first run of the Horseback Finals at the 2013 National Cattledog Association National Finals, and it's Tom Blasdell and his dog Heifer. Tom is from Prineville, Oregon.
Jeff, I don't know about you, but I'm really excited about this because a horseback competition on a national level, I'm not so sure this isn't the first time this has been done.
I'm pretty sure this is the first time it's brought this many people on a national level from this broad of a geographic area. You know, Jimmy, most of the, or a lot of the cattle dog trials up in the northwest part of the United States are horseback, and we're really happy to bring them there and become a part of what we do nationally. You know, the thing that I really like about the horseback class is that it really brings together two amazing livestock traditions in the United States. You know, they say the United States is a melting pot, and this horseback class is very much a melting pot of traditions of stockmanship and livestock. It's bringing both the, you know, Spanish vaquero style that came from out west, and it's also combining that with the United Kingdom and the British Border Collie and that tradition of handling sheep and transferring it over to cattle. And it's really a lot of fun to bring the partnership that a person can have with both horse and dog to accomplish a task of handling cattle out here on this course. And certainly there are Border Collies and horses used in this fashion all over the United States, and it's an exciting thing to see.
And especially in the western half where the areas are much more vast than we have east of, say, Steamboat Springs. So it's necessary to have a means of transportation for the handler and the cowboy, the rancher, but we're at the same time work in tandem with the dog.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, out in those big areas with really high, or I should say really low stocking rates, where you could run 20, 30, 40 acres to a cow-calf pair, the amount of area that a horse and dog can cover is a really important tool for those folks out there in the Rocky Mountain West and Northwest and where those stocking rates are higher. We've got people here this week handling cattle horseback from you know, the Midwest, the Southwest, the Northwest, the Rocky Mountain area, you know, and everybody's had a lot of fun in this competition.
Now we noticed when Tom sent his dog on the outrun, she was stopping. My guess, she's showing some eye. This dog is pulling up and focusing in on the stock before completing her outrun. We see different working styles, and to me it looks like this dog might have a little eye as the reason she was checking up.
She does, and I think the other thing you can see is that on a dog like that with a lot of eye, it pulls them into wherever the draw of the cattle is. And those cattle have been coming basically from the southwest corner where you pick them up to the northeast corner of that pasture where they're headed to now, and there's a strong draw in that area, into that corner. And so I think a dog with eye like Heifer will pull into that and feel that pressure and use that eye to kind of hold those cattle up away from that draw. I know that Heifer's a pretty young dog too. I think she's I think she's a 2-year-old and not real experienced. Those strong-eyed dogs will start understanding how to use it and when to use it, and I'm sure that Heifer will mature into that for Tom.
Now, unlike our open class, the horseback class did not have to make a set of gates coming in. They were just coming down to cross what we call on a timeline, which is somewhat of a tiebreaker, but it's also a reference point to start the next phase.
That's right. This is the first phase of work that Tom is just completing with Heifer, and the goal of this timeline is for them to bring the cattle across an imaginary line between that four-sided pen that's closed. Would be off to Tom's right or the west right now, and that fence that he's riding along right now. And so once they've crossed that line going from south to north, uphill to downhill, he can turn them around and head them up the hill. And like we talked about in the the introduction and course description, this is a gambler's choice course, so that gives Tom the option of going to whatever obstacle he wants to do next. And Tom is elected, since that he's in the neighborhood of that weave obstacle up there, and it also has a lot of points to go ahead and get it out of the way. And it does make a pretty picture out on the side of that hill with the horse and rider and dog and those pretty black Angus heifers trotting along in the green grass and the sagebrush.
These cattle are scoring him 25 points ahead every time they correctly go around a panel.
Right. Every time they cross a plane between those panels, they're scoring 25 points ahead. And so as long as he keeps his dog on line, and I think we'll see today that we'll have a lot of different approaches to that obstacle, how people use their dog and their horse, whether they use their horse to block, whether they swap sides of the obstacle with the dog or not. I think we'll see some different approaches and a variety of ways to attack that obstacle. Tom chose to keep his horse on the bottom side and his dog on the top side and just kind of bounce the cattle back and forth between them. So it certainly seemed to work for him.
You know, this irrigation ditch is playing a big role here, going to what is more than likely the next obstacle for this team, and that is that set of gates, those set of panels. Coming out of the weave, looks like that would be the next logical choice, but those cattle coming off of that levee, they may be hard to stop.
Yeah, that panel is pretty close to that irrigation ditch. They might have to get those cattle a little bit farther towards the set out, so it'll give them a little more time to settle them before they go through there. Here Tom's moved on to the other big point obstacle on the course, the sort, and he's got one heifer that came through and went back out the wrong exit, and so now he's got one heifer that isn't all the way in the entrance. And you have to have all of the cattle pointed in into the pen portion of this obstacle before you can score any points on the sort. And so that heifer that came out the sort side earlier won't count. He's going to have to put her back through the entrance here and get her into that pen with those other 4 heifers before he can score any points on his sort.
You know, when we're looking at watching the classes like the Open, where the handler's standing still and the dog is doing most of the work, we talk about the flight zone of the dog off of the stock. But in here, we kind of need to pay attention to the flight zone of the horse as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's definitely another interaction there when you introduce another animal into that equation. You know, some cattle, I think, especially out west, you'll find a lot of cattle are a lot more used to and more accustomed and comfortable to a horse than they are a person afoot. These cattle are pretty used to both, but I know that there's places you go out west and they don't normally see anybody on foot at all. So they'll tend to be pretty flighty around a person on foot, where a horse, they'll recognize them and not be very fearful of them.
Now what's the object here? What's full points here?
Full points here is the first calf needs to come out the side, just like Tom brought him, and then the cattle need to alternate between out the end and out the side. So he's kept his pattern good, brought his horse in and sorted. Now he just needs to get his horse out there and time that one out and that one out, and that's good for a full point sort.
And that would be 5 points per cow going out the correct hole.
I believe we're actually 10 points. 10 points there on the sort. Right, it's a 335 point course total. So Tom has the 2 highest point obstacles completed at this point, with the weave and the sort done, and he's doing pretty well on time. So now he's headed to this box, and they're going to enter this box from the left-hand side. There's an opening there, and they're going to exit it for maximum points out the exit that Tom is closest to right now.
Well, some of these cattle seem to want to settle, and then some of them don't, and that makes it a little more difficult. Heifer's doing a good job of putting them back in a pile every time we get one tries to stray away.
She is. She and Tom could probably do maybe with a little less heel bite at certain times. When he gets them back in, it seems like Heifer maybe wants to reach in and nip a heel a little bit. But like we said, she's a pretty young dog and got a little youthful enthusiasm yet. I'm sure that she's settling down nicely here and giving things time.
It's quite a credit, though, to Tom and the dog for making the finals here, being a young dog like this.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is Tom's first national finals, and he's doing quite well. He's been instrumental in getting this horseback program going, and has been a big asset. It's been really good to get to know him better and have his help on this horseback program.
I tell you, I'm personally impressed with all good runs, irregardless of the class. But where I'm at, we don't compete horseback very often, every once in a while, and so it's kind of like juggling 2 items or 3. And so I got real excited watching this and looking forward to it because of the coordination that is choreography required to orchestrate moving the cattle and the dog and controlling your horse all at the same time. To see somebody put together a good run doing that, to me, is tops.
Absolutely. From a handler's perspective, it definitely gives you another thing to think about. You know, where that dog needs to be and when to stop him and when to send him and when to flank him, and also when to rein your horse, when to cue your horse. And so, yeah, it adds another element of difficulty from a handler's perspective, and really shows the people that have a really solid, natural relationship with their horse and dog. It's a nice run there by Tom and Heifer.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Walker, and we're at the Flying Diamond Ranch in beautiful Steamboat Springs, Colorado.
And we do have a
We're at the 2013 National Cattledog Association National Finals. We're currently running the horseback division of our program, and I'm here visiting with Tom Blasdell of Prineville, Oregon. He's got his dog Heifer that just completed a run. Tom, how did you feel it went?
I thought it was very good. Good cattle, good course.
Now, as Heifer went up the hill, she was checking on the cattle a little bit, slowing up a little bit. What do you think she was thinking there?
I think she just is, still is checking to see which way we were going. So, when we gathered them, we had to do like a cross drive, dog leg, and so I'd rather go slow up there to get things started. So it worked out good. Instead of just busting right into it.
Absolutely, kind of reading the heads, which direction they're pointed, and reading the pressure on the cattle. Now, when she started down with them, you had a good lift coming off the top, but the cattle didn't want to stay together. They seemed to scatter. She did a great job of putting them together. What about that?
Yeah, she read the wanting to separate, someone to come straight down the hill, and the others, she tried to turn the lead with it, keep it together best she could. So then after a while, you just got to play with it and try to get it. Scoop them up down the bottom, start over.
There you go. All right. So you went to after you got your timeline, you went to the weave, and I noticed a lot of people here are going to the weave first. What makes that the #1 choice of a lot of handlers?
Our timeline is on this side, and so it's just kind of setting it up. We're thinking that we can get through it at a walk, and so in the 12 minutes, it's still a big course. But so anyway, cut time off if we go to the weave first, and it is the most points. It's 100 points, and the others are 50 points, and it's the furthest away from us. So we think, I don't know, our strategy was to get to it first, get the most points.
Hit the home run first, worry about the single later.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, with the score you got, how do you feel you're sitting right now?
Oh, she'll get beat, but I'm really tickled with the way she did. She has made me happier than heck.
I have no complaints. You know, Tom, the National Cattledog Association is brand new. This is our first year in our first national finals, and we're doing something that hasn't been done on a national level. We've got people competing from all over the United States in a horseback division. Where do you think this is going to go?
I want to see it, help it keep growing, getting bigger, and with that, I want to get my sponsors into it more, Resistol and Luberson, and help it really grow to be a huge success.
You bet. Tom, you and Heifer did a great job. We appreciate you being here with us at the National Cattledog Finals.
I thank you very much.